Shalom and welcome to the weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew. We're continuing our work in Jeremiah chapter 4, coming today to verse 23, and you're going to notice in verse 23 all the way down to verse 26, 4 verses, they're all going to start with the same word here. So if you're looking at your Hebrew text, you probably can just glance over that and see it. So we'll see this 4 times. Jeremiah is announcing what he sees as he looks upon the destruction that the Lord is sending as a chastening against his people, and it's rather astounding. Let's go ahead and read this verse 23 as we get started today. Ra'iti et ha'aretz vehine tohu vevohu ve'el hashemayim ve'ein oram. Not very complicated, but very, very heavy. Reiti. So we're starting off with this. What we have here is a perfect. It's the first common singular with this T, a formative ending on it. It's a cow, and it's from the verb ra'ah. And this hey, we find the primitive yod showing up instead. That's pretty typical with 3 hey verbs like that. So I saw or I looked. Let's say I saw. What did I see? Direct object marker here at the earth. Audits. Usually edits, but because of the article, it becomes audits with the comments here. Now, is this referring to the land of Judah, or is it referring to the earth in terms of almost the planetary kind of a view? Well, you would think it'd be the land of Judah, but with the following verses, it's going to take us into a reference, a visionary reference that might be much broader than that. Well, I saw the land, or the earth, and behold, hine, tohu vavohu. Well, if you know when you've been reading your Hebrew Bible for a while, you know that verse shows up, that little expression shows up in Genesis 1, verse 2. Matter of fact, it's the only other time in the entire Hebrew Bible that it shows up in this both parts together here, when the earth was formless and void, was this primitive chaos in the creation story of Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. And here it is again. Now there's a similar expression that shows up a third time in Isaiah chapter 34 verse 11. Not quite the same, it's a little bit more developed, but this expression here just is crying, is screaming out at us. Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, the original creation at the beginning when it didn't have any form, and before God gave it form and put it all together. So he sees the earth and it's formless and void, and he sees to the heavens, or towards the heavens, and ein, that's your particle of non-existence, there is not their light, or is a feminine noun meaning light, which again would take us back to Genesis chapter 1, and in this case we have a suffix that's a 3MP pronoun suffix referring to heaven. So their heavens, their light is not there, it does not exist. Wow, not too complicated in terms of a translation, but boy, it's such a heavy thing. We seem to be looking at the creation, which is being deconstructed. It's taking us back to this primitive state before God gave the order to his created world. And that's exactly what he's trying to communicate here, as he looks at the sin and the destruction that is coming upon his people because of their sin. Let's go ahead and look at a couple of different translations with this. First of all, the New American Standard, which is very literal. I looked on the earth, I considered, I saw the earth, I looked on the earth, and behold, formless and void. And they put these 2 words in italics because they're not actually in the text, but it's understandable. It was formless and void, and that again just cries out to us. Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, I can hear it, I can see it there. And to the heavens, and they had no light. There's not their light. Okay, pretty direct. New English Bible, from our British friends across the ocean. I saw the earth, and it was without form and void. So that's pretty good. That takes us again with that reference right back to Genesis. The heavens, and their light was gone. Now that adds actually a little nuance right here. Instead of saying their light is not there, their light was gone sort of implies that their light was there and is no longer there, and so it is gone. Now that's a nuance that they're adding by interpretation, but in this context here, that's exactly what Jeremiah is seeing. So it's not really a bad interpretation to say gone, because it's the reversal of the creation story in many ways, because of what the sin has done to the people with God's judgment now coming upon them. So just a little nuance, but I like that nuance. Their light was gone. It's going backwards, so to speak. And then just in case you didn't get the point of the reference to Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, well, Eugene Peterson in the Message makes it very explicit. Now, this is obviously a paraphrase, but it's a pretty good one. I looked at the earth, and it was back to pre-Genesis chaos and emptiness. Well, you can't get more clear than what he has here. That's exactly what Jeremiah seems to be pointing us. I looked at the skies, not a star to be seen. Well, it's actually light, so it could be more than just the stars. It could have been the sun and the moon as well. But this idea of darkness, there's nothing that's shining anymore. This is what sin does. And when God has to judge his people because of it, he wants them to understand what a serious, serious thing. There's a kind of pollution that's far worse than any sort of environmental pollution. It's the pollution of stubbornness and rebellion and sin. And that's what Jeremiah sees. And he's going to continue this description in the following verses with a repetition of this little phrase here as we go through the creation week, but in a sense backwards. So check back with us soon for our next weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew. Shalom.